What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on TGM guitars. And yes, the backdrop has changed again. I'm constantly moving my room around. It's something you'll see on this channel a lot. But before we get started, I just want to say thanks to everyone that's subscribed so far and everyone that's left a comment. Had a few discussions going on, especially on the Bulgara 1960 Infinium video. So I just want to say thanks for getting involved, and if you haven't subscribed and you do like this video, then be sure to click that subscribe button and leave a like. So let's jump straight into today's topic. As guitarists, we always have an obsession with gear, and more often than not we don't particularly have the money to get the gear that we want. And I've featured it a few times on this channel, especially with the Bulgara video, the Harley Benton AC tone, and that's trying to achieve those tones on a budget. And when it comes to effects pedals, sometimes we just haven't got 100 to 200 pounds, sometimes more, to shell out on a pedal that ultimately we don't know how it's going to sound in our rig. We don't know if it's going to be to our liking, and to me that's where DIY pedals come in. Okay, so I've had a bit of experience with this in the past, maybe not too successfully with this boost pedal, which I did feature in my gain pedal shootout, and it's never worked quite as well as I wanted it to, and ultimately I don't use it. But it was a good foray into how pedals come together, and ultimately it was a good stepping stone. Now, if you're not confident with going straight to strip board and going straight into designing or building something from absolute scratch, then there's plenty of options out there. So these are two pedals I recently built, got these for Christmas, and this is the Hotcake and Berries and the Super Clone from Jedspeds. I'll leave a link in the description. I did have these in my last video, and essentially with these, you can choose how you're going to do it. You can buy just the board itself, you can buy the board with all the components, board with components and the case, and board, components, case and pre-drilled if you don't even want to go through the effort of drilling it yourself, which if you were to take this one apart, I made a complete mess of the drilling, so maybe it is the best option for some people. But ultimately, you sit down a couple of hours, you have some decent, good quality pedals. Now, why did I go down this route? Now, the clone is something that's been done a million times over, but in order to buy the clone pedals that are considered to be closest to the original, or to have a few more bells and whistles, the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe for example, you have to spend close to £200, or sometimes over, for a really good pedal. And I just didn't have that money to spend. So in comes this, £59, I think it's around 59, you can check on the website. And yeah, it gets me in that ballpark, it lets me play about with that tone. And through that, I now know I like that clon style sound. And the same goes for the Hotcake. It's a pedal that I probably would never have tried. I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I knew I was going to be getting an AC30 soon, and it's a good pedal through that. And ultimately, you know, I quite like it. It's become a go-to pedal for me. And maybe in the future I will consider going to a more premium version. Now for me, it solved the problem of not only money, so I didn't have, if I was to buy one of these pedals, it would cost, or one entry-level pedal of either of these, it probably costs the same as both of these combined. And it just allows me to play about with tones and get to find what I like. And as far as quality goes, the PCBs in these are brilliant. And there are loads of options online. There are loads of companies now that do this service. And that brings me on to another pedal that I recently built, and let's check that out. If you've seen my other videos, you might know I'm a bit of a Brian May fan, and the AC30, the red Special guitar, well, the white Special, to me, kind of shows that. Now, what was one thing I needed? A treble booster. But in order to buy a decent treble booster from some of the really good companies, you're looking at 100 to 200 pounds, and it's a basic thing. Some of them don't even have knobs on. So this is the 83 Mayboost by Fuzzdog. It's basically a copy of the Peak Corniche TB83 Boost, and it gives me the sound I want. And what's more, it cost me like 20 quid. How can I complain at that? Well, I say 20, I think it's about 30 once shipping and everything. Now, this may vary in other countries because you have to pay different fees, but there'll probably be local companies that do this sort of thing. And this didn't take long at all. I mean, I'll roll the clip now whilst I'm talking about it, of me actually building it. I decided to set the camera up and do a shot. And as you can see, it's literally a PCB that's ready to go, all the components you need, all the wire you need. And the bonus for this one is you order it with the enclosure and it comes pre-drilled, which is amazing. You don't have to pay extra for the service. Not saying that's a bad thing for Jed's peds. He does so many pedals and such a range of pedals, I imagine it's going to be really difficult for him to do that. But, you know, both of them, top-notch quality. But there's a drawback. The pedals are only as good as you make them. And not everyone is going to be brilliant at soldering. Not everyone's even going to know how to solder. Cutting wire links, making it nice and neat inside. And that is more of a, if you practice enough, I reckon anyone could take on, especially this Mayboost pedal. It's a fairly simple one. It's a couple of resistors, capacitors, and a transistor, and that's pretty much it. And you can get it with or without the bias pot. I went with because I want to play about and try and get different tones with it and not purely have it as a Queen machine. And yeah, it's probably a good way to start, a good way to get yourself into that DIY thing. And if you've played about with guitars before, you've probably got a soldering iron at home. Now, I will say I felt a bit more confident jumping straight into this because by trade I'm an electronic engineer, so I've done soldering on surface mount and God knows what, but that doesn't mean I'm the best. Soldering's never been a thing I'm brilliant at, and there's quite a few kind of issues in these pedals that is just down to my ability, and if I spent more time and practiced a bit more or even got better equipment, I could probably do a much better job. But ultimately, I've got pedals that work and sound good. As far as grounding issues go, I don't particularly know if these are noisier than the originals. I've obviously, to solve the problem of not spending out on the originals, I don't have the originals to compare these to, but they get me what I want. So should we jump over to some sounds? I think that'll be a good idea now. So time to see what they sound like, I guess. Now, this is a little bit samey. In my last video I put all my gain pedals through my Vox amp, but this time it's a little bit different because I'm focusing mainly on these pedals, and also decided it'd be best to use a different guitar. So this is my Gretsch Streamliner G2420T, I believe is the model number, and it's going into the top boost channel of my Vox AC30C2, which then goes into the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X, which I'm using the Vox cab emulation on there. I think it's SM57 and a condenser microphones on. A little bit of room reverb, probably a bit too much, but I'm quite liking it at the moment. So this is the bass sound, got the pedal board cam on down there. So as opposed to my last video, instead of text popping up all the time, actually I'll still do the text popping up all the time, but I'll also have all the pedals already patched in, so you'll see when I turn them on and off. A little bit easier for you guys. So this is my bass sound. So as with my usual bass sound, trying to just go for a little bit of edge of break up there. Definitely pushed a little bit more by humbuckers. So let's start with the Super Clone, I guess. It's too much room reverb, isn't it? But as you can hear, it's automatically just And if you were listening to that, you wouldn't be able to tell this is a pedal I made myself. So if I just do everything straight up. Just knock the gain up. As I said in my last video where I featured this pedal, they're all labelled up wrong. So if I'm turning the gain up, it's this one over here that actually says volume. Bit more gain. Let's see what it does all the way up. As you can tell, it's a very usable pedal. I mean, that's gain all the way up. Most people don't use a clone like that, but I mean, that sounds pretty damn good, in my opinion. So it's got some switches on it, a thick, a fat switch, and some clipping. So it's got 2 sets of germanium clipping diodes in there. So I have a bit of trouble telling sort of what difference they're actually making, but there might be something audible to you guys. That definitely sounds more round. Let's push, that's the tone, by the way. Tone up a little. And that's a good thing about a clone circuit, or a cloned circuit, it adds rather than takes. I mean, you can use it more, push the amp a little bit. Let's try turning the gain down whilst doing it. But I mean, you listen, there's not a ridiculous amount of buzz or anything, and it's a pedal I've wired up myself, pedal that I've put together, and there's something satisfying about plugging it in for that first time and hearing the sound. But ultimately you would not be able to tell that that is not a professional pedal, and about half, sometimes a quarter of the price. Now let's kick that off, let's check out the Hotcake. I do like this one. Maybe I should play something other than stuff in the key of A, but I mean, you can push the gain up. It starts to go into a bit of a fuzzy territory, this one. As you can hear, that is quite noisy. Don't know whether that's just something about the Hotcake style pedal or whether it's a problem, but it's definitely usable. You can get around that. I do apologise to the plane. Right, so that's quite noisy. Let's back that gain off. And I've noticed this has got a hell of a lot of volume, this pedal, so if I back that gain all the way off, I can use it almost as a clean boost. Sorry about that, my pedal board decided to lose power. I think I had an issue with the power cable got going to it. Right, anyway. So that's more of a boost now. So if I turn that off, and then using the presence, you can warm it up a little bit. And again, you wouldn't be able to tell that that is not a professional pedal just by listening to it there. So I know I'm going a bit briefly over these pedals, not going fully into detail with them, but my point of this video is more to sort of show you that DIY pedals are totally usable and you can get them for a lot cheaper than you buy the professional stuff for. So, time for the boost. Everybody loves a treble boosted Vox. I mean, that's already usable. I mean, this does go completely mad all the way up. Comes a little bit almost squeaky. It's weird, but yeah, we'll back that down to about halfway. Of course, very, very touch sensitive and versatile with the volume. You can get that sparkly clean. Shouldn't try fast stuff, especially on this guitar. It's not the guitar for it. But I know what you're all thinking. How does this 30 quid do-it-yourself box, how does it stand up to some of the best treble boosters out there? And I know I've not got them to compare, but it wouldn't be a video of a treble booster and a Vox in it without this happening, so I do apologise, it's a bit repetitive and happens a lot. Yeah, that's right. Another Vox video where the guy gets out a treble booster and a Brian May guitar. But hey, I mean, there are going to be people out there that want to know, can this do Brian May? So, let's give it a go, shall we? Just get my chorus up, a little bit of chorus on there. Muted at the moment. So, I mean, I didn't do much talking there, did I? But it does it. It does the trick. If you're trying to get that kind of sound, you don't have to spend hundreds on a pedal. And at the end of the day, I just wanted this because, as I say, I'm a Brian May fan. I like that tone, I like that sound. So in order to be able to add that to the pedal board at not much of a cost is absolutely brilliant. But, so that's what they sound like. As always, I know my playing isn't the best, but what can I say? You can't complain at the value of these pedals. Okay, so DIY pedals and pedal kits. They're actually worth it? In my opinion, I definitely think they are, because you get to taste those sounds and get a feel for what that kind of pedal does. It might ultimately end up with you replacing that 50 quid budget Klon pedal with something that costs 200 quid. But it's about trying, it's about experiencing and finding what you like, and sometimes it's just not on the agenda for guitarists on a budget. I know there's plenty of companies out there, like Tone City for example, Mua, Donna on Amazon. They produce some pretty good budget little pedals, but I think there's just something different about getting involved and doing it yourself. There's that sense of achievement that you get with it. Some of you might not like doing that, but it's, in my opinion, it's a good way to spend a weekend sitting there soldering. I know some people won't consider that fun, but each to their own. If you want to try something for cheap, don't mind setting the time aside, would like to learn a little bit more about electronics and the way they work, then this is a good way of doing it. The guides to actually build these are easy to follow, as long as you know how to do a little bit of decoding of like resistor codes or that, or cheat like I did and get a multimeter, because then you can just go, oh well, that's a 1k resistor, and put it in there. But you know, it's part of an experience, and to me it's a good one. I do eventually want to build my own amp, and I've got a project guitar that I'm going to start working on soon. I might show you in some upcoming videos. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you a good sort of idea of what is entailed in building your own pedals. Whether, I know this is mainly on kits, you can build them from scratch as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.